Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zillia, and today let's pitch another idea for an OVA We Never Learn episode. Now then, it's glaringly obvious that the anime has left out some amazing content from the We Never Learn manga, and in this series we go over some of the chapters that I personally think would be appropriate to make into an OVA episode based on a particular character. Now, I will be doing this for every single character of the We Never Learn series, and I've already done it for Azumi Koinami already, so if you haven't seen that video, make sure to go check it out. I'll put the link in the description of this one. Now then, for this video, as you can tell, I'm focusing on the main protagonist himself, Yuiga. Now, an OVA special based on this character would include one chapter. Now, this one chapter would stretch throughout the whole of the half an hour / 25-minute episode. And I think this would be the appropriate chapter to go with, and that is chapter 106. Because this chapter contains a lot of comedy, good development for Yuiga's character, which the anime was sorely lacking, and it also includes all of the female characters. So you can basically please everyone by showing reactions from the characters. Furuhashi has some good expressions in this chapter, and everyone else was just, it wasn't based around them, and they weren't used a lot in this. It was mostly Yuiga and Kirisu, which Yuiga definitely needs a development, and Kirisu is obviously a fan favourite. So then let me tell you a bit about this chapter, just to give you an idea as to what happens without spoiling too much. And I'll explain as to why this chapter is one that I would pick over some of the others that are more focused around our main protagonist. So then, with this chapter really breaks down as to what Yuiga wants to do with his life going forward, and that he desires to become an educator. We kind of suspected this, and if you've watched the anime with fresh eyes, you might not have got this 100%, because they haven't really touched upon it. In the anime, they did showcase this a little bit, but they kind of just chucked it in right at the last minute and was kind of like, oh, hold on a minute, our main protagonist hasn't had any development for 2 whole seasons. I know, let's just chuck in the fact he wants to become an educator and then end the season, or end the show. That's not really how it should have gone. They really should have flushed out Yuiga's character and made him a bit more kind of, more investable. Because his character, from the anime perspective, is just a teacher. He just looks after the girls and that's it. He's not really that important. He's like a secondary character to everybody else within the show, and that's not really what, it should be. Every character should be equal, but Yuiga obviously doesn't have that development. To be honest, not a lot of these characters have development from the anime perspective, and that's kind of upsetting. However, talking about this chapter in particular. So then, this chapter is basically, it's from Yuiga's perspective, and it all seems to basically lay out the path that Yuiga is going to take. He's like, right, I want to become an educator, and it shows us, the audience, what he wants to do, and just gives us that clarification and who's going to help him to do it. Because we know before this chapter, from the manga's perspective, that he does want to do this. However, he's a bit too afraid and shy to come out about it. However, there is one character in particular in this episode that helps him break out of that shell and kind of gives him a guidance and passes on that torch. Now that for me is something that would be brilliantly executed in an anime format and will give 2 points to both Yuiga and that other character. Now, like I said, this chapter does contain a lot of comedy. And whether or not that comedy is miscommunication, as well as the fact is it's just general comedy that the We Never Learn series likes to bring. So for example here, you've got miscommunication comedy by Yuiga's mother just overreacting with pretty much everything. Narayuki's going, right, no, Kirisu is actually saying this. She's like, his resolve is the real deal. It would be okay for you to listen to what he has to say for my sake, Mum. She's like, mother-in-law, your resolve is this? And she's obviously thinking that the two are going to get eloped and run away and have a life together, which that's obviously not going to happen. It's just a mother overreacting. And this, this actually is quite apparent throughout the entire chapter. And that's actually quite funny, because we don't get to see a lot from Yuiga's mother in terms of the anime series, and we don't really know much about her. We know that she has a job, which she was ill for one episode. We know she likes to be a bit playful because of the scene before Fudahashi's interview. She was like, oh, isn't she a nice girl? Maybe she could be a bride for my boy. And yeah, and we know that she could be a helper by helping Fudahashi's dad. But this chapter basically gives her that goofy personality, that overreaction, and it gives us a very stern and a very motherhood side to her character, which basically we would love to see. Because obviously we know that she cares about her son, but we need to see that. Now, this chapter does, again, have a lot of comedy. I've said that again twice. So, despite the reactions from the mother and the comedy, if you strip all that away, you're basically left with a brilliant showcasing of family bonds and desire to help Yuiga himself. Because we have this situation where Yuiga is basically made to have a choice. I'm not going to say why he has a choice because that would be spoiling it. However, he's given a choice and he decides to refuse it. Until then, his brother and sisters come out. Now, bearing in mind these are young siblings. They're not really meant to be mature or, their brains aren't developed enough to kind of understand that. But they're obviously telling their brother that, don't be stupid. Do what you want to do. Make yourself happy. And his mother does the exact same thing. And the one thing that this chapter really does that I love about the We Never Learn series and franchise is that it gives you those subtle life lessons. And they don't kind of rub it in your face, but they give you it long enough that you actually take it in. Because it's so simple and yet so effective. Yuiga's mother is like, look, if the kids aren't happy, then I'm happy. Which is why, if you truly want your family to be happy, then be happy for yourself first. A lot of us forget this, and a lot of us do tend to fall into Yuiga's category and work hard to make our family proud and happy. However, they just want us to be able to achieve what we can and what we want to do. So to give us that, like little life lesson and message, as well as the fact is to give us the good showcasing of family bonds and friendship desire to help, with Kirisu wanting to help Yuiga out throughout this chapter, would be a nice thing to see, and it gives us a good showcasing of the family in general, minus the worst child of that family being his sister that has that creepy obsession with him. Now, this chapter is probably one of the best chapters that we have for showcasing Yuiga's development as a character and showing us what we can expect from his character going forward. Because we know that at the end of this, he has an exam. But until the exams and the festival are over, or basically just before the exam, we're told what he wants to do in the anime series. But from this, we actually see him studying and learning and developing and getting to the stage to where he's ready to go for the exam to become that educator. And this development is something that the character desperately needed from an anime perspective, like I've already said. And, seeing this, even if it's an OVA episode, would just give the fans something more to be more desired and more value to give into the character of Yuiga. Because at the end of the day, he seems like a throwaway character where they just rushed the development towards the end and didn't really give him anything. Now, I know that Yuiga isn't the best character from the show. He's not one of the most popular. But this show does actually start off, this chapter, in fact, does start off with some great Kirisu fan service. Which, obviously, Kirisu being the most favourite female character from the We Never Learn franchise, due to the last 2 or 3 popular character polls, she basically outshines all the others on basically every single one they've done so far. And, we get the awkward scene between Yuiga and Kirisu as she's trying to shower and everything else. So that would be great fan service for the fans to see, and obviously they would like that. Not me personally, but hey, each of their own. And obviously we do have the other females in this chapter as well, so they do have their own small parts to play. So with the comedy, the life lessons, the kind of weird fan service, the kind of message and meaning behind it, development, and the overall vibe of this chapter, I think would basically work well as an OVA series for the character of Yuiga if you want to basically focus on that particular character. So if you want to basically show off his development and to make Yuiga a character that's more investable and gives him more of a determination and more of a following, while pleasing the audience with some interesting and entertaining fan service and character reactions and shots and comedy, then this chapter would be the one that I would recommend to turn into an OVA special. So, with all that being said, all the information being laid out for you based on this one chapter, what do you think? Do you think this would be a good chapter to actually see in anime format? Or would you rather not and just focus on somebody else? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you find that there's another chapter that I've missed that you think would be better at showing off Yuiga's traits and qualities, then again, feel free to let me know and we can discuss it down in the comments. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, hit like, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I hope you'll have an amazing day and I'll be catching you next time. Goodbye.